Hi, in this session we will talk about theme designer. So what is a theme designer? So using the UI theme designer we can create our own themes to adapt the visual appearance of the applications. So it is a one single tool for theming and branding SAP's key user interfaces. So we can apply our corporate branding and look to the applications built with the SAP UI5 technologies. So the UI theme designer is a browser-based tool for cross-theming scenarios. So we use it to easily build our corporate identity themes by modifying the one of the theme templates which are provided by SAP. So for example, we can change the color scheme or we can add our company's logo. So the tool is targeted at different user groups including the developers, visual designers and the administrators. After that, these are the supported UI technologies which are the WebDem Pro, then we have the HTML GUI, SAP UI5, then we have the CRM Web UIF, then we have the SAP NetWeaver Portal, SAP NetWeaver Business Client and SAP GUI. So basically what does that mean is that the theme designer is a tool that crosses many platforms and many technologies. So built once, it can be used at many places provided a much lower TCO and provides a single presentation or the format for our company web pages. So it is not just a tool which is meant for SAP Fiori. Rather than we can use this for other UI based applications. After that, these are the supported platforms. So the following are the supported platforms which are the SAP NetWeaver as ABAP, then we have the SAP NetWeaver Portal, then we have SAP HANA Cloud and SAP NetWeaver Portal. So the future is to cover the main platforms intended for SAP, especially the HANA Cloud. So the theme designer will continue to be the part of SAP landscape as the customers transition to HANA as well as the cloud. So these are basically the supported platforms for my UI theme designer. After that, there are certain prerequisites for using the UI theme designer. So the first one is that we have to implement the node 1852401. After that, we have to activate the Internet Communication Framework service, that is my ICF service node, which is basically placed under my SAP Public and BC themes and SAP BC theming. So to perform this, we have to launch the IMG activity. We have to activate the ICF service for the UI theme designer. So after that, the fourth step is that for right access to the UI designer, we must assign the relevant authorization objects. And in this case, this authorization object is UI5 and then we have the theme inside it. Then at last the administrators can assign the relevant authorization objects to the specific users using the role maintenance transaction, which is my PFCG transaction. So since the themes are client specific, the client we use to start the UI theme designer must be the same as the client of the theme repository. In addition to this, both need to run on the same server. So it is recommended to use the Google Chrome for the UI theme designer, but yes, the Mozilla Firefox and the Microsoft Internet Explorer as of version 10, so they are also supported. After that, we have theming in SAP UI5. So all the themes have a base theme in common. So then the base is built upon a set of theme related CSS files. So we can think of this like we extend our files in Java or in ABAP. So it is the similar concept. After that, the theme generator merges the common with the specific along with the listed features. So SAP UI5, it uses less to handle the CSS parameters and allows some additional features. So less can be considered a preprocessor which results in the final version of my CSS. So less has its own parameters which are not accessible via CSS. We use them in the CSS class definition and the rules when building the SAP UI5 controls. So now what is the need of a custom theme? So a theme defines the visual appearance of an application, including the font size and the type, the colors of UI controls and the background images. So it can be applied to an application to suit the purpose, topic or taste of the different users. So a custom theme is a new theme adapted from an SAP standard theme that includes the changes desired by a customer. So a custom theme is typically created using the UI theme designer to change the theme parameter values, images and other resources. So the UI theme designer generates the CSS for the custom theme, which can then be deployed to the target server along with any uploaded images or other resources. So the degree of support for the custom theme depends on the features used. So the themes may support one or more UI technologies. After that, the source language is the less. The UI theme designer uses the style sheet language LESS, which is a learner CSS, as the source file format for theming the data. So less extends the CSS with the dynamic behaviors such as variables, mixins, operations and the functions. So these techniques allows us to make the CSS that is more maintainable, themable and extendable. So with less we can define the variables centrally and we reuse them throughout the style sheet. So we simply use @ to define a variable and a colon to assign it a value. So rather than repeating the value, we can reference the variable. So during the CSS build process, the values of the variables are inserted into the output CSS file. In addition, less allows the operations and the functions. So my operations allow the addition, subtraction, division and multiplication of properties values and the colors. So which can be used to create the relationships between the properties. So the functions, they allow the manipulation of the values. For example, we can define a color by desaturating another color. After that, we have adjusting the styles. So in some cases one need to adjust the parts of the theme using the CSS. So we can add the style or the link tags in the HTML head tag to include the new styles. So these styles are always processed after the UI5 CSS from the themes. As the last process CSS wins in case of multiple same CSS rules, the custom CSS always overrides the standard UI5 CSS. So the parts to be overwritten can be determined using the tools like Firebug. It is also important to know that the ID given to a control is also the ID that the topmost HTML element of this control gets. Thus, this ID can be used as a reference in the CSS. So using the addStyle class method that every UI5 control has, one can add a CSS class to the top level HTML element of the UI5 control. After that, we have the CSS parameters. So the UI5 offers two main options to adjust the themes, that is adjusting the standard CSS directly with the standard tools or changing the parameters for the main features of a theme. So the parameters are the one where the sum values used for different elements. Then the parameters, they are like write once and reference often. Parameters are mixed into the CSS of the controls. The parameters, they are usually set in the central files, and using the less generator the parameter values are inserted and CSS only files are generated. So these are the few properties of my parameters. After that, the parameter values, they can be read at the runtime with the JavaScript API. So this allows the transferring UI5 theme parameters to own HTML parts. So useful, these are like useful when one uses the technology which cannot be influenced by CSS directly, like the canvas and the WebGL. After that, the UI, this is the complete flow, like how the theme designer works. So the theme designer is based on the themes contained in the theme repository, which in simple term is the CSS file which defines a theme. So one of these is selected as the basis of your customized scheme. So we should also have one or more applications identified to use for previewing the impact of our customization. So those applications will be very useful in troubleshooting the changes. So the more features in the application, the more useful it is in the customizing. Or in other words, we can say that we will better see the impact of our changes in more of the features. So we consider the mixing of colors in a web page. The more combinations we can see will reveal those that simply clash or do not work well together. So once we have completed our customization, we can save our theme under a new name, and a good naming convention makes the reference to the original theme template. After that, like in this slide, we can see that as a first step, the admin has to start the theme designer. And in the second step, we have to select the theme to start with. That is the base theme we have to choose if we want to customize the theme. Then as the third step, we have to change the central parameters of all the technologies. After that, the change technology specific parameters. So we have to, so once we have changed the central parameters, then we have to change the technology specific parameters. So once done, we have to save the theme and we have to deploy the theme. And my end users will use this theme from the application. So this is the complete 6-step process which we have to use when using the custom themes using the UI theme designer. So in this we can see that what is the user action, and after that what action is performed by the UI theme designer. So first of all, we start the UI theme designer. So the action which will be performed by the UI theme designer is that the tool accesses the theme repository through an API provided by the theming engine, and it loads the all available themes. After that, when we select a theme as the base of our theme, like say if I select the SAP Corvu, so the CSS files defining this theme, they will be getting loaded from the theme repository. Then when we select an application as the sample content for the preview, so for an example, a WebDim Pro ABAP application, so the UI theme designer finds out which library is used and needs to be styled. So in this example, the library theme SAP Corbu for unified rendering is loaded. So the application is displayed in the preview area and its theming parameters are offered for editing. Now when we make the adjustments to the theme we selected by changing the values of the theming parameters or entering the additional CSS rules, so the new theming data is stored in the browser's cache. When we are done with the changes and we publish our theme to the server, so the theme generator is triggered and generates the corresponding CSS from the list files. A new theme folder is created in the theme repository, and the generated CSS files, they are stored in this folder along with the list files. So in this slide we can see basically what happens when the user will perform certain action and what corresponding action my theme designer will be performing. After that, after login, we will see the various themes already pre-configured. So this is the transaction which we use to access the UI theme designer. So we have to go to this transaction. So after login, we will be like able to see the various themes already pre-configured. Like we can see here the different themes which are available. So the default theme for SAP is a SAP Blue Crystal. So when working with the theme designer, we will be essentially adding to the existing core templates. So we pick up a theme and then decide how the modifications we want should look. So the change of images, background colors, etc. These are the few modifications which can be done to the core template. Then we can also create our own custom template, but that is somewhat advanced for that is somewhat which comes under the advanced concepts. So for now, what we will do is we will see like how we can just take the base template and how we can customize it. So after that, this is the screen which we can see here. So after login, we'll see the various themes which are pre-configured, and once selected, like say in this case we have selected certain theme, so we can see the properties as well as the preview here. So we in this case we have selected the blue crystal, and we are using the SAP Fiori Launchpad as an UI5 application. So the parameters, they can be easily modified using the upcoming UI theme designer. So it is a easy CSS free theming, branding, as long as mainly the colors need to be changed. So we can see the live preview in the real applications. So the other SAP UI technologies like WebDim Pro, they are also covered in this. So the UI theme designer, it was released with the UI add-on 1.0 SP4 in May 2013. So using the quick or the expert parameters does not require any knowledge of CSS. So makes this a tool which almost anyone can use, especially when the colors or the images are the only things that require changing. And those are the main company specific customization parameters. So this is the end of this, and now we will see like how we can change the theme of the theme which is default provided by the SAP, how we can do the custom changes inside it. So let's log into the system. So here is my system in which I have my Fiori backend and the front end server configured. So in this exercise, we will see the steps which are required to access the theme designer and to make the simple parameter based changes to the standard pre-delivered SAP Blue Crystal theme, and how we can publish this new theme, new custom theme which we will be developing. So in the theme designer, there are plenty of options, both the parameters based as well as the code based. So we'll look at few of them in this exercise. So let's start with the exercise. So first of all, we have to call the theme designer. So the theme designer can be called using the transaction theme designer from the gateway, or we can directly access that using the URL. So let's say if I go to my SAP logon, if I go to my Fiori front end where I have the gateway as well, so I just continue with this. So I have this UI theme designer in my shortcuts, in my favorites. So I'll just double click it, and it will open up my theme designer into a browser. So I can see the URL of this theme designer. So either I can directly open this using the browser, or I can go from my gateway or the front end, and I can use the transaction theme designer. So after that, we have to log into it. So once we will log in, so we'll be able to see all the default templates which are provided by the SAP. So we have the SAP Blue Crystal, we have the SAP Chrome, we have the SAP Corbu, we have the Gold Reflection, HCB, Standard, and the Trade Show. So this Blue Crystal is the default one which comes up. So we have to just choose the standard one and we have to click on this open. So now in this we have to provide the link to the launchpad in the field link to the application. So since we are using the UI5 application, which is the SAP Fiori launchpad, so we have to provide the link of the launchpad here. So let me go back to my file wherein I have copied the link for it. So this is my launchpad link. I'll just copy this link and I have to put it into my application link area. So I have to mention here to which application I want to link. After that we have to give the name of the application here. So in this we can enter the name of our choice. So let's say if I give the name as demo underscore theme designer. So once done, then we have to click on this add. So after that it will take some time to load the page and we will be able to see the theme which is the demo theme designer. So now it has loaded the application, the launchpad link which we have given. So since the application for us is the SAP Fiori launchpad, so it has opened up the launchpad and it has copied that. So now in this demo theme designer we have the this one, the name as the, it has already given the name to our custom theme which is a custom blue crystal. So if we want we can change the name here. So once after that, at this point we are ready to start changing the various parameters. So we have this live preview here using which we can see the changes as we make them. So we can see the changes like say if in this example if we go into the right hand of this screen, so we can see that we have the different color options, that is my background color, my background gradient color, the base color, the brand color, then the highlight color. After that we have the different font options like the link color and the text color. Similarly, if we want to insert the company logo or something, we can directly insert the image here. If we want to add some background image, we can add it, we can choose that from here. After that we can also set up the background opacity, we can also set up the background repeat. So all these things we can set up in the properties. So let's say what will happen if I change the background color. So let's say if I want to change this color to if A1111, I know the code of the color, so I have directly placed it here. Otherwise you can just choose it from this one. You can choose it from this option as well. So we can set up the value of the RGB here or we can give the code directly here. So now in the preview we can see the changes which I just did. So it has changed the color to this code whatever I have sent in the parameters. So this way once we are done with the changes in this particular tab, so we can then choose to save this custom theme or to publish it. So we will just see how we can publish it. After that we can just go here, we can press the home page. On the home page we can just go to this theme and then in the theme we have the option either to save it or save as or save and build. So when we do this save and build, so it will automatically save it and it will publish it as well. So let's go for the save and build. So now in this pop-up we have to enter the name, we have to enter the theme ID, and it is pre-populated, but if we want to change them, so we can change it in this window. So it has automatically taken up the theme ID and the title of it. Then we have to just click on this save and build. So now we can see the progress of the publishing. So once it will be 100%, so now my custom theme will be published. So we will be able to get the message at the last once this operation is completed. So we can see here the progress, and now it is completed. So I can see that my theme custom underscore blue crystal, it has been saved and built. Then we have to just click on this OK. So now we have to go to the SAP system again, and we have to go to the transaction, which is UI5, and this is my theme tool. So now in this screen we have to just select the theme which we have just created, and then we have to go to the info of it. So we can just select it and we have to go to the info. We have to double click the info, and now we have to copy the first line of it. So we have to copy this entire first thing using the Control Y option. So we can just copy it, and we have to just make the note of this URL. Now once done, then after that we have the standard launchpad URL, and then now we have the custom parameters as well. So we have to join both of these so that we get the end result here. So now in this case what we will do, that we have the launchpad URL. This is my launchpad URL. After that I will just add the question mark and the one which I have just copied. So I have to join these both of. Now we can copy and paste this URL into the browser. So this is my URL. And I have to copy paste this URL into my browser. So what I'm doing is that I'm applying this custom theme to my application now. So basically we are like accessing this application using this parameters. So now can we see that we have this default custom theme which we have just created, and it is now added. The changes are now reflecting into my launchpad application. So we can see here the change, which like we have changed the background color. So I can see that okay, now my background color which I have chosen, it is now appearing into my background color of my application, which is my Fiori launchpad. So with the theme designer we can also do the more things, especially with the custom CSS code that can be entered under the CSS tab. So we are free to play around with the various parameters and the options which we have in the theme designer. So we have a few other options which are there in my theme designer. So let's see which they are. So let's go back to our UI theme designer. So in the UI theme designer we can see the different views here. So the first one here is the quick view. So this quick view, after that we have the first option is the quick view, then we have this expert view, and then we have the palette view, and then we have the CSS. So basically in this case we can use the quick view, which is mainly the this quick theming is mainly the theming parameters that apply to all the included UI technologies, while my expert theming is the theming provides us the theming parameters. Like say if I go to my expert theming, So we can see here that the theming parameters, they are specific to the UI technologies. So this offers the advanced options for theming. Then we have the CSS rules. So in the CSS rules, we can add our own custom CSS files. So if we click on this add custom CSS, we can write down the code here and we can click on apply. So this is the most advanced version, like when we do the theme changes. So that is like applying our own code using the CSS. So in this area, we can write down our code, we can apply directly using this. After that, so these are the different theming options which we have. Now after that, we have the option of previewing. So similarly, in the previewing, we have different viewing options. So if I go to this drop down, so by default it has selected the desktop. Now if I want to see how my application will look like into my phone, so I can just click on this phone and it will generate a preview which will be like how my application will appear on my mobile phone. Similarly, I can go here and I can click on this tablet. So this will show me the view, the preview, or like how my application will look like on my tablet. So this way we have the different options, the different theming options, different preview options which are there. So we can do that, and we can just change the default themes which are provided by the SAP. So this is the end of this session. In this session, we have covered the topics like what is the theme designer. We have covered the different parameters, different prerequisites which are required from a UI theme designer. After that, we have seen like how to access the theme designer from my gateway or from the URL. Then we have seen a simple example of how we can change the background color using the quick theming, and we have seen the different theming options and the previewing options which are there into my theme designer. Thank you.